So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. I'm going to keep this brief. I just got a few things I want to say. It's very interesting when people get into their mid 60s, they think that they are in their teens or 20s. Why is my mother calling me an old man now? She's going to say to me, "You're an old man now. So you should not be doing X, Y, and Z." Let me tell y'all what happened. There's this cute guy that plays on General Hospital. I think he's about 26 or 27 years old. And he's a white boy. And I said, "Oh, he's cute." I said, he's a cute white boy. And my mother said to me, "You're an old man now. You should not be." I was like, "Really, Ma?" In her mind, she's younger than me. She probably is. But I found it to be funny. I found it to be funny. She told me I'm the old man now. I'm like, "Child, whatever." I was like, "Child," I had to get off the phone with her after she said that to me. I was like, "Child, please." Tell me I'm the old, tell me you're an old man now. I was like, "Girl, okay, okay, okay." I found that hilarious, to be honest with you, because people in their 60s, they think they're in their 20s, child. But anyway, I was thinking about some things, as I always do. And I really do believe that there is an agenda to terrorize and attack black women. I really do. I was just sitting back thinking about a lot of the things that have happened here in the apartment complex that I live in, and how this disgusting management company, that one day I will reveal who they are one day when I feel safe to do so. This disgusting management company, how they target certain black women and how they allow black men to get away with murder practically in this building. Here's what I'm talking about. There was a woman that used to live in my building. Her name was Carol, or Carolyn. I think it was Carol, Miss Carol. And Miss Carol was she was kind of off. She would talk to herself and, turn to the side and, "Hi, how are you?" and have conversations with herself. But Miss Carol never bothered anybody, right? That lady never bothered anybody. She stayed to herself and she never bothered anybody. I just want to emphasize that. The problem came in, and it's always with these black men. It's always surrounding these black men, and I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. And this is not to bash, you know, all black men. That I'm above that. It's not about that, but it's about what they are being used for. Some of them, especially, well, specifically the ones that come out of the penal system. Miss Carroll had a son, and her son was coming. This was years ago. Her son was coming over here to visit her a lot, and as with most men, he came over here and he started taking advantage of the situation. He started doing things that he should not have done. This dude was getting on Facebook, hooking up with white women. He brought a white girl over to the apartment. He got into I don't know what happened, but he got into some type of altercation with this white woman, and he stabbed her in the stairwell of the apartment. He stabbed her. And I didn't know any of this was going on until the next day someone had said something about it. He stabbed her in the stairwell. If I'm not mistaken, Miss Carol lived on the third floor. The woman that he stabbed in the stairwell, She made it down to the second floor stairwell and knocked at one of the ladies' doors right there that lived right there and asked her, "Could you please call the ambulance because I've been stabbed?" What makes this so tragic is Miss Carol lost her apartment behind her worthless ass son. They put her out. This is why, mm, this is why rules and regulations are so important. But they put her out. That woman was an elder. I mean, she wasn't old, but she was in her, I think Miss Carol was probably in her, maybe her 60s. And she lost her apartment behind her no good ass, low value, no value having ass son. Now we can all speculate about her parenting skills with him coming up. I don't know because I didn't know her like that. But at the end of the day, she lost her apartment because of him. He's meeting these women on Facebook and then assaulting them or something like that. I forgot how he met her. Did he meet her at McDonald's? Something. He met the woman, but then he stabbed her. I don't know. I can't remember all of the details. I don't know if he tried to SA her or whatever the case may be, but nevertheless, his mother lost her apartment behind that. And we were all devastated for Miss Carol, but it was nothing that we could do about it. Another incident. So let me go back for a moment. They put Miss Carol out. That's one black woman they put out. Let me give you another incident because I live in a pretty, my building is not a small building, so it's all types of different people that live in here. Some of these people that live in here have been here for a long time, and they've aged into the place. There were two sisters that lived, well, they were white women, and they were also these women they were definitely older. They were older than Miss Carol. They were two sisters, and they were white women, and they violated the no smoking clause in the lease. We can't smoke cigarettes in these apartments. We have to go outside to smoke because somebody was smoking a cigarette in here back years ago and it caused a fire. So management implemented a rule that that you can't smoke in your apartment. But the only people that they enforced that on were these two older white women, and they put them out too. They put them out too. Here we go with the women thing. Here we go. There was a woman, and this woman, she wasn't old. She was young. When she moved in the building, she moved in here with her boyfriend. And they used to get into it consecutively all the time. Her boyfriend was a menace in the building. He was. He was a true menace in the building. I heard that he was stealing people's packages at their doors that they had delivered. If people had groceries delivered from Instacart, he was stealing that, I heard. And one day, him and his girlfriend, they got into an altercation. And from what I understand, there are many different stories. From what I understand, I've heard now again, I'm only reporting. From what I heard, he assaulted her physically, and then she in turn stabbed him. Guess who they put out? They put her out. They put her out. But excuse me. But he was still coming in the building. Excuse me. He was still coming in the building. But they put her out. She's a black woman. They put her out. Right? Another situation. This black guy, he's black. His mother lives in the building. He's in his 50s. He's a bum, lost his job at the airport, got back on drugs, had a girlfriend, but he wrecked her car, moved back in with his mother, who had disowned him for many years because he was out there in the street on drugs, moved back with his mother, cussed his mother out, and then he moved into another apartment with a woman. He moved into another woman's apartment that lives in the building. This woman took him in because she's so fucking desperate for a fucking man, right? But this very same man, he's not even a tenant. He's not even a tenant. This bitch nigga is not even a tenant. Before all of that, of what I just told you, he got into an altercation with a leaseholder, another tenant, threatened the dude. Then he was accused of trying to break into this white woman's car who lives in our building. And of course, they tried to say she was lying, of course. I believe her. I believe her until I'm proven wrong. See, right there, those are two strikes. But now he's living in this building. He moved into this other woman's apartment. Let me go back to that. He moved into this other woman's apartment. And we're going to call her Vera. Her name is Vera. He moved into Vera's apartment because Vera is so desperate for a man. Right? And I like Vera. She's a nice lady. I really like her. She's in her 50s, and I really like Vera. I think she's about 54, 55, 56. I like Vera. I really like her. She's a nice person. Let me back up for a moment. Remember I told you the guy who got stabbed by his girlfriend a couple of minutes ago? Remember I told you the guy who got stabbed by his girlfriend and they put her out when she was defending herself against him? Vera was messing with that guy too. And when they put the girlfriend out, that guy, the office allowed him to move into Vera's apartment. You see where I'm going with this? And this dude was not even a leaseholder. They were not even co-leaseholders. Going back to this other bum that I was just talking about right here, that just moved into Vera's apartment, he's not a leaseholder either. But she put him down as her helper. Because when you put somebody down as your helper or aide, you don't have to pay extra rent. Because Vera has mobility issues. But that's not why she wants him living with her. She's been living with mobility issues for quite some time now. She wants him living with her because she's lonely and she's desperate. But you're bringing all of these bad elements into the building, right? Let me give you another story, and I told you all about this. Black dude assaulted an elderly white woman that lived in our building who was in her 90s. She had been here forever. She had been here forever. Everybody loved her. I'm going to call her Miss G. Everybody loved Miss G. Beautiful spirit. I remember when I remember she was still I remember she still had a boyfriend, shit, well in her 80s. She had this little, I think he was Filipino or something like that, or maybe not Filipino. I think he might have been Brazilian, little short guy. And people would hear them in the apartment having sex. I mean, she was getting down, Miss G. This is a white lady, okay? But she was a beautiful person. She has since passed away. She passed away last year. She did not have much family. I think she had a sister, but I don't think she had much family. But this other bum who lives with his girlfriend, he's not old. His girlfriend's not old. She's in her late 40s or early 50s, right? Now, this bum is also on drugs, allegedly, but I believe he really is. He takes advantage of people. He moved in with his girlfriend, and from what I understand, she has to pay him for sex, right? A couple of years ago, let me finish giving you the backstory. He moved in with his girlfriend. She was out at the mall. At the mall, okay? She was at the mall, up there crying, begging him. She didn't even know this man. And she was begging this man to come home with her. This bum. His name is Sean. And that's his real name, Sean. She was begging this bum to come home with her. He's been living in this building unauthorized for many, many years. For many years. A couple of years ago, he assaulted an elderly woman, Miss G, a white lady. And I've told you all about this before. He assaulted her. We all know he did it. She named him. There are cameras in my building. When the police looked at the cameras, they saw him coming down this side of the hallway because Miss G lived on my floor on the same side of the hallway that I did. They saw him coming down this side of the hallway on the camera at that time. He lied and said that he was knocking at another tenant's door. When the police in the office questioned that tenant, she said he was a lie. No, he was not. He got off on a technicality, but we all know he did it. And guess what the office allowed him to do? They allowed him to become a co-leaseholder with that bum bitch that he lives with, his girlfriend, the one that was crying for him at the mall to come home with her years ago. After they knew this man had complaints against him, they knew he was involved in suspicious drug activity, and they still let him move in this building, even with all of that hanging over top of him. You feel what I'm saying? And the reason I'm calling that lady a bum bitch is because why would you take up with someone like that that you know is a violent, savage person, and you're putting it's one thing to put your own to put yourself, you know, in danger. That's one thing. But why would you put an entire community of people in danger simply because you're lonely? Her own mother cussed her out behind him. But here's where I'm going with this. If you notice, there's a pattern. Miss Carol, the other lady who stabbed her boyfriend in self defense, the two older white women who were sisters, and the older white woman that was assaulted, none of those people got justice. One more woman. There was a lady that lived in here named Miss Linda, another older woman, right? Well, she wasn't old when she moved into the building, but she aged in, of course, like everybody does eventually. You get older where you live at. This woman was walking on a walker, and they evicted her last year. Why did they evict her? For bad housekeeping. And I think suspicious drug activity. This woman was in her late 70s, but they evicted her. But you still have crackhead black men running around the building. One of which, and I'm going to say his motherfucking name, his name is Theodore. Old, decrepit, crackhead man, black guy, that they keep giving chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. After chance. But he's still smoking crack and violating his lease. Crack is still illegal. But you see, there's a pattern with this. It seems like they only go after women, particularly black women, but women in general. They go after women and they try to destroy women. It reminds me of that movie False Arrest with Donna Mills that came out in the early 90s. It was based on a true story. She played this woman named Joyce Lukazik, I believe, and her husband framed her for a double murder of their own friends. Her husband framed her. He never saw a day in jail. Even when it was discovered that it was probably him that set up the hit against Pat Redmond and Gene Redmond and the mother. I think it was the wife's mother that was a triple murder. It was also the wife's mother that was murdered too. This happened in Arizona back in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. It's a real story. Look it up. Joyce Lukazik. How they brutally and wrongfully prosecuted her and viciously prosecuted her. The entire I think they were in Phoenix, Arizona. The entire was it no. It was no, not Phoenix, Arizona. No, it was shit. I can't think. It was in Arizona though. It was in something Dale, Arizona. I can't think. The last name is Dale, but I can't think of the full name. Scottsdale. I think it was in Scottsdale, Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. Scottsdale. Can you imagine how many women are in jail for crimes they really didn't commit? Can you imagine how many women are homeless while they continuously harbor and take care of criminal, violent, insane men who happen to be black? I see a pattern with this management company. They target black women. And it's not just the management company, it's the culture and the society and the system in general. They target women, particularly black women, but I think ultimately they target all women. I really do. Do you notice how when black men come out of prison, even if they were felons, do you notice how the red carpet is laid out for them? I listen a lot. I listen a lot. People think I'm not listening because I don't say anything, but I'm a listener. I listen to things in the dark. I like to consider myself what people would call a demonic listener because I listen to things in the dark that people don't think people know. And I'm a listener. And I hear a lot of different things that just doesn't make sense to me. Do you notice how, let me go back to this. Do you notice how when black men get out of jail, and I'm talking about black men who've been in the penal system, they get out of jail, even if they were felons, and nowadays they are not even prosecuting a lot of violent offenders like that. They're giving them lighter sentences for sexual assault. I'm going to say the word, for murder, for assaulting people, for violent armed robberies. They are flipping their sentences and making them lighter. And there's a reason for that. Because a lot of those niggas are psyops, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to veer off into the conspiracy theory thing, but it makes me think sometimes they are psyops for the CIA or something like that. And then they put them back in the black community to terrorize black people. See, we're so worried about Mexicans and Latinos and all of the immigrants coming over here. We're so worried about that, but we have a bunch of psyopic black men who go into the penal system, and then when they come out trained by the CIA. That's what they say about the conscious community. They said a lot of them niggas were in the penal system, and the CIA trained them, or the government trained them to put black people up under mind control and sent them out into the world. They give them housing, they give them money, they give them funding. They do all of those types of things. Because isn't it funny how, and I'm going to wrap this up, isn't it funny how a lot of black men, when they come out of jail, they can get food stamps, they can get housing, they can get checks, they can get government assistance, even if they are felons. They can get grants to open up businesses. I think they even have programs for felons to get grants to open up businesses. They can buy big homes and stuff like that. They cater to those types of people because those niggas are psyops. Just like the ones who live in this building, who are naughty. How are you going to let somebody move into a building? This is how you know I believe it's backed by the darker side of the government. How are you going to let somebody move into a building who is not a leaseholder, and you let them move in the building when they have all of these things that are surrounding them? Criminal activity, bad background, criminal background, violent backgrounds. And you let these weirdos and these terroristic types of men move into these types of communities. How is it that these types of men can get more help than a single mother with children? Well, that is what a single mother is. I'm sorry. How make that make sense for me? And the reason I'm talking about this is because we're in the political season right now. And I'm still in my unpolitically correct occult view. Make that make sense. How is it that these types of criminals, they can get out and get jobs easily? They set them up with jobs and job training. They set them up with it easily. They can go to a career center and easily get job training and easily get a job. But they make things so difficult for a single black mother. Make it make sense. And I'm not jumping on no bandwagons. I'm telling you what I see. I'm telling you what I see and what I know. I see how they are moving in this society. They let these niggas out of jail and they let them come into communities to terrorize people. And they don't just, and white people, they're putting them in your communities too. They're putting them in your communities too. It ain't got nothing to do with race. But I'm just saying, it seems like black men are being used as psyops, mind controlled. That is why they're loosening up the laws for drug addicts and stuff like that when they need to really tighten them up again. Because now what's happening is they know that the law and the government are backing them up in their criminal activity. Just like that man a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, he was on the New York, here we go with the New York subway again. On the New York subway, he was throwing a flammable liquid fluid on innocent passengers, and he has been doing this for quite some time. He was a homeless guy. And people always say you got to have empathy for the homeless and all that. Well, I get that. But sometimes those people are not right. Sometimes they're not right. And I'm not jeopardizing my safety or the safety of my loved ones for some stranger that I don't even know. They shut down the mental institutions. They defunded the police department. They're loosening up the laws for drug addicts and weirdos and criminals, violent offenders. And now this is a result. To me, it's all by design. This is all part of the purge and all part of gentrification. Just like I personally believe that people that are going through certain types of harassment, you know what I'm saying? I think that's by design. I had a client, she has since passed away. She passed away some years back. And I don't talk about her much. Her name was Eugenia. Eugenia was one of the most purest, beautiful spirits that I knew. Unfortunately, Eugenia unalived herself because, and I was a counsel to her spiritually, but she unalived herself because she was tired of being gang stalked. She was being gang stalked. And not just gang stalked, she was being gang stalked by the government, by the US government. So it does happen. She was put on a list. She was put on a list for no reason because of something she said. She was expressing her view, and they put her on a list. So I know, and I don't like talking about that because that really, I really like Eugenia. She was so good to me as a client, and she did something magnificent for me as a client that I didn't even ask for. She did not want to live in this misery anymore that she was experiencing. She said that the gang stalking was so advanced, I can't even describe how advanced. She was saying that, and most people will say, oh, she crazy, she was delusional. No, she wasn't. The gang stalking was so advanced that she was going through that she could not even sleep at night. And I remember my friend Christopher used to tell me that he was being gang stalked too. And they were doing something through the phone or something, like hacking his phone and sending something through the phone to fuck with him. He was telling me about that. Of course, people are going to say, oh, they're just crazy or whatever the case may be. Were they really, though? See, black men like Christopher, they want to kill those types of black men off because those types of black men are protective against they're protective um, against these types of attacks against black women. And I know for a fact that Christopher believed in defending black women. He believed in defending children. He believed in that. He would have took a bullet for a black woman. Yes. But see, they kill off those types of black men. And then the ones that are in the penal system, because they're already weak and fucked up and traumatized anyway, they put them under psyops and they mind control them. But the level of gang stalking that my ex-client Eugenia was going through, she couldn't even sleep at night because some kind of way they were things were being sent to her at night. She was under attack at night. She couldn't sleep during the day. She had basically become a recluse. People coming outside her window, blowing horns or shooting guns. This is the type of stuff these people do. But I don't talk about this a lot, you know. But this stuff goes on. And then, like I said earlier, they flood communities that were once good communities. They flood them with crackheads, criminals, and a lot of them are black men in particular. Some black women, too, are part of this psyopic, shit, too. But it's mainly black men that they flood in the black community to terrorize the black community, to cause emotional distress, to cause harm. And if you're a single mother, they definitely send people to fuck with you, especially if you are somebody with magical gifts and spiritual gifts that they tell us, oh, that's not real. So you can't tell me that black women are not under attack. Anyway, that's my rant for the morning. That's my spiritual rant for the morning. And that's all I really have to say. So just think about that. Tell me what you all think.